But right now, hold on to your butts, because now we need to talk about our featured review. And for that, we are talking about the wild ride that is The Substance. Zach, you're the one that hadn't even heard of this movie when Todd and I suggested that we watch it last week. So you're going to start us out. And I think Todd and I both, we knew it existed and it was supposed to be good, but I don't think we knew what was going on or what it was about yet either, because it was always kind of just a, don't find out anything about it, just go watch it. But you didn't even know it existed. So tell us what you found out and what you thought.
I had seen it. I'd seen the trailer for it. I just had sort of forgotten about it. But yes, I was aware that it existed and that it had some success. I believe, was it the Cannes Film Festival where it won Best Screenplay? Okay, so The Substance is the second film by the French director Coralie Fargeat, and it is the story of Elizabeth, who is played by Elizabeth Sparkle, who's played by Demi Moore. And she is a once legendary actress star who, in the opening shot of the movie, has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. This opening sequence kind of looks at the life of her star on Hollywood and basically tells you everything you need to know about Elizabeth Sparkle without ever showing her face or showing anything about her, just her star. Really cool way to open the movie. Love that. But we do get to see Demi Moore. We get to see a lot of Demi Moore in this movie. And she is desperately trying to cling on to any sort of relevancy she has. She's, I believe, in her 50s in this movie, and she's doing this sort of Jane Fonda workout thing. She's fired at the beginning of the movie by her boss, played by Dennis Quaid, President Reagan. It was, he comes off as this very, stereotypical, just an asshole, toxic male executive who is, basically fetishizing younger women, getting rid of Demi Moore. So in a desperate attempt to try to rejuvenate her career, she comes across this substance that, much like Ponce de Leon, or much like, anything to try, but picture Dorian Gray, the promise of eternal youth. And so this substance comes in this kind of weird packaging. She is number 503. I was wondering if it had something to do with the Oregon area code 503, but alas, it did not. But she's number 503 in it. And when she takes this substance, without going too much into detail, she's able to transform herself into another person, a much younger version of herself, played in this movie by Margaret Qualley, or Margaret Qualley, as Todd likes to call her. And her name is Sue in the movie, and she has much more success in this kind of entertainment venue than Elizabeth does. Notice that their names are Elizabeth and Sue, not Elizabeth Shue, but we were close. Okay, so The Substance. Yeah, this is a really fascinating movie that obviously touches on issues of age and beauty and double standards in Hollywood and image and celebrity. Here's what I wrote down. I said this movie is Being John Malkovich crossed with Requiem for a Dream if it was directed by the three-headed bastard child of Kubrick, Lynch, and Cronenberg. And it would literally be a three-headed bastard child, because this movie may or may not have creatures with multiple heads in them. There's also a bit of Stuart Gordon, Reanimator, in this movie. This was a fascinating movie. I'm still kind of grappling with it. I saw it earlier today. I have really strong reactions to it, both positive and negative, I guess, in some respects. But I think the overwhelming feeling that I'm having right now is positive. I think this was a pretty cool movie. I liked a lot of what it was doing. I think the movie took a lot of risks. It had a premise that was off the wall, nuts, batshit crazy. And it stuck to it. It took guts for this filmmaker to deliver and execute her vision of this story, which is just crazy. And the truth is, the story itself, like I said, it's sort of familiar. We've had movies before about people trying to cling on to their past or doing whatever they can to, rejuvenate their bodies. This is definitely in the body horror trope of movies. But I really got into the characters. This movie it uses a lot of like cinematic indexical language. You know, there's like some very clear nods to some of those directors I mentioned before, but it exists in a unique world that only a movie could convey. I don't think this story would be nearly as impactful if it were a TV series or a book or something else. Like, it had to be a movie, especially in a theater, where it was really just kind of impactful. This is a kind of movie that I call a Nigel Tufnell movie, because this one goes to 11. This movie absolutely is bonkers, off the wall. You know, you sense that it's crescendoing as it goes along, and it just gets crazier and crazier. And then you get to the last 30 minutes when you don't think it could get crazier, it actually goes there. I can't say that I love the last 30 minutes. I think I tend to like movies that are a little bit more grounded in reality. And even though, like I said, this movie exists in a very formalistic, very meta cinematic world, up until the last 30 minutes, I guess I could believe to a certain extent what was happening. The last 30 minutes strain a lot of believability. That being said, I didn't hate it. I just think it was a little bit too long and too extra. And the parts of the movie that I most related to were the tension and the hostility, gradual building hostility between Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. Cool movie. I really enjoyed it. Really dug it. I'm not going to forget this experience anytime soon. I'm going 3.5 stars. This was bonkers, off the wall stuff that I really applaud the filmmaker for having the guts to make. And Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, who are both crazy in this movie, but they're awesome.
So the movie to me felt like some sort of lost chapter in Kinds of Kindness, right? Like it's like obsessed with its own thing. It thinks that it's like bizarre images and pulpy atmosphere is what everyone wants. But this is more like a B movie, Elizabeth Moss movie with a bigger budget. It's really strange. But there are a lot of startling images, like the ending scenes. Like, it's hard not to compare to Men. Like, there's some like weird shit that goes on, and the actual first activator scenes are pretty jarring to watch, even though you kind of get like immune to them eventually. Dennis Quaid's gnarly in this. Like, I saw that it was originally given to Ray Liotta before he died. Like, but you can't have a further departure from Ronald Reagan. There's some Sorry to Bother You in there, and like it's like WTF-ness, and there's some Vanilla Sky in there and its ideas. Definitely some Neon Demon. Like, Adam's gonna love this freaking movie. I
texted it. I said, if this isn't in your top 10, I give up. I texted it. Then he's lying, basically. I like some of the dark humor. Like, I like how she's like trying to sneak around incognito, wearing like the brightest yellow coat on the planet. Like, and she thinks that she can't be seen. And I also don't really get how everything just seems to make sense in her life after the change. Like, she doesn't need an ID. She doesn't need a last name. She can't really be getting paid. Like, I'm not sure how that was supposed to work. I don't know. I don't think I like this movie. I definitely don't respect it. But I can't say I wasn't really taken by it, even though it's absurdly long. Like, you could have trimmed a good half hour off the last hour of the movie because it's really repetitive. But I like that the movie follows its own rules. Like, a lot of horror movies with like complicated concepts kind of betray their own premise, and aside from how they handle the ending, I think it's mostly faithful. I'm at 2.5 stars. I can't give this 3 stars, but because that would just be weird. But I'm just below recommendation, I guess.
Well, you've got Zach at 3.5. You've got Todd at 2.5.
Tell us why it's a 3-star movie, Terry.
Well, first off, you said Adam will love it. One of the reasons he'll love it is because this director's first movie was Revenge, which Adam had as his number 2 movie of 2018. So,
really?
Yeah, so there's that. I got this at 4 stars. This movie is like, I watched it last night and I haven't been able to shake it. It's just this thing where if you get into it and you buy the premise at the start, you are along for this ride that just leaves your jaw dropped the entire movie. And especially when like the end is absolutely insane bonkers, but you kind of just have to go with it when you're that invested in it too. And there's some crazy directorial like camera angles that are super cool and totally work, especially like Dennis Quaid. Like, Dennis Quaid might be like Pinot frontrunner for the Matt Damon Award, the Douchebag Award, and potentially supporting actor. Like, he is like, what is he doing? But it works. Like everything that happens in this works. Like it feels like an offshoot of Mulholland Drive in some ways, in that everyone around the main character or characters, if they're one or not, are like caricatures that make that just kind of re-emphasize and just bring around everything else and add to the absurdity, but also making it work even better and letting you buy into the absurdity. Demi Moore is outstanding in this. Margaret Qualley, like she's been trying to be a thing for a while now, and nothing that she's been in has really worked that well, like until this. I blown away. I just like jaw dropped. Just I couldn't believe what I was watching, yet completely 100% entertained by it at the same time. I was gonna give it 3. I was like right on the edge. I'm like, oh, it's a high 3.5. I'm like, what the hell? 4-star movie. Why not? It's like there's nothing that's gonna be quite like this that I'm gonna see the rest of the year. And I was entertained for 2 hours and 20 minutes by it completely. And it's a beautiful mess, and I loved it.
What's not beautiful is watching Dennis Quaid eat shrimp.
Or hearing Dennis Quaid eat shrimp
after not washing his hands in the men's restroom.
Yeah,
and then going and eating shrimp, and then touching the guy on his suit like that. I was like, ah.
Well, this is a reminder that you shouldn't have started with me, Terry, because I didn't know this movie. I guess I'm in the middle between you guys, and I can understand both of your reactions, because I think I agree a lot with what Todd says. The movie, yes, it dictates its own logic, which is cool, but it is way too long. It's way too unwieldy, and I think you reach sort of the apex of the movie in the human drama. I think the last act of it is just so like, craziness for crazy's sake. That being said, if you look at the Oscars for best makeup and hairstyling over the years, how many of those stupid awards have gone to characters that are just old, or characters that are just trying to be a real life person? This movie should win best makeup, because what they do in this movie is make an entire, I guess, creature, but also just like, I mean, it's absolutely wild what they're able to do with the makeup in this movie. And that also goes to the performances too. But like, this movie lives in a world of its own, like Todd was saying. And the world is fascinating. It's cinematic. It is utterly crazy, off the wall, and just so imaginative too. Like I think there's like a little bit of Guillermo del Toro in this movie as well. It's just wild, and there's nothing quite like it. I mean, I agree with Terry's reaction. I can't think, even though like the story beats are familiar, and maybe in some ways the characters are familiar, I can't think of a movie that is quite like this, in spite of the fact that it also seems derivative of a lot of directors. So I think that's a compliment to the movie. And I just think both the actors are crazy in this movie. I think Demi Moore, I mean, this is like her Ellen Burstyn Requiem for a Dream, when she's like making that chicken, throwing the shit at the TV. I mean, she must have signed up for this project. They all must have signed up for this project, reading the script, and they had faith in the material and the director. And I think that's just cool. This movie took risks, and so few movies take risks like this, and they don't always work. But you know what? Screw it. It's worth it. It's worth to take a risk like this and just do a batshit crazy movie like this. It's worth it. People should definitely check it out. Not just the Adams of the world. Everybody should see it.
When people are pushing Demi Moore for an Oscar nomination, it's not going to happen. Like, this is like, I could see her getting nominated for the SAG, and then it'd be like Sarah Silverman getting nominated for I Smile Back, or Adam Sandler getting nominated for Hustle. Like, it's not going to get nominated for an Oscar, but it's got your random SAG nomination. That's what's going to happen with this. Because, I mean, there's no way the Oscars touch this with anything. Not even, right. I don't think makeup is happening at all. Maybe visual effects, if anything.
What's funny about that is this movie that far off from Poor Things? I mean, first of all 3 of us gave it a higher rating than Poor Things, so we like it more than Poor Things, and it's not that far off. It's just it's not pretentious. That's the problem. That's why it won't appeal to. It's not highbrow enough for Oscar contention. But it's I think a substantially better movie that takes a lot more risks and is a lot more bold, and is just also like a lot funnier and edgier and unforgettable. Like, you're not going to forget, even as crazy as as the last few scenes are, you're not going to forget that anytime soon. That was crazy.
Yeah. I like Zach, I think you said a little bit of Sorry to Bother You in there too.
I see that.
No, Todd said
Or
that.
Todd said that.
That's
And just that how it's like after I watched Sorry to Bother You, I left that theater like, what the hell did I just watch? But that one went a little too far off the deep end, and I had no idea what was going on anymore. This one's a little different in that it drags you along through this absurdity the entire time, and so you have to be invested in what's going on, so that when it gets to the most absurd thing it could possibly do, you're in, and you're just along for the ride, and you're going down the roller coaster with hands straight up, just like take me. This is fun.
See, that's why I think it like that's what I said about Men, but Men is different because it was more contained and it was shorter. So like in the end, when you're seeing these just like absurd images that are forever scarred in my mind, like it was a different ride than watching this, which was a roller coaster to get to a point where you are seeing this thing like vomiting a boob. You know?
See, I was nowhere near as high on Men, and the reason was because I felt like it didn't earn it. It didn't invest me the whole way like The Substance does. Men, it was just kind of, it was a decent movie, and then when you get to the end and it goes crazy on you, you go, what? Where this one, like, it's dragging you along. It's like there's nowhere to go but up, and then it goes there, and you're like, oh, whoa, that's what it does. Okay. Like the payoff works because the buildup is that much better.
Yeah, and there's another director we haven't mentioned yet too, which I know Todd is a fan of, but there's also like a very real Leos Carax feel to this movie, and in particular, I was reminded of like like Annette, you know, and how like in Annette, it's Leos Carax's view of like American consumerism, but it's very clearly not made by an American. And I kind of felt that with this movie, but in a weird way, it kind of works because everything in this movie is just so weird and messed up. Like, it didn't feel real. Like, there's literally a banner outside her apartment that is the New Year's, you know, celebration that she's doing. You have to suspend disbelief in the movie. That's why, even though the end is you know, batshit crazy, you can live with it because the whole movie exists with that in that same crazy sort of universe. So I don't know. I really dug it. I think it's going to divide audiences. My wife hated it. I think it's the kind of movie where if you take Wives and Girlfriends 2 and you say it's a Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley movie, maybe they're expecting something else. But it's, you know what? So what? I like movies that divide people. Screw the movies that unite them. I'm glad this movie.
I don't know if my wife would. I don't know if my wife will watch this one.
I don't think I've seen a movie that had more nudity that was rated R.
Right? I was thinking the same thing.
Non-sexual nudity.
Which is probably how they got away with it.
Yes, yeah. Potentially. When's the last time Margaret Qualley didn't do nudity in a movie? I think she's on a streak here. She's like 5 movies in a row. I think ironically it was that Bondage movie that she did with Christopher Abbott. I don't think she did nudity in that movie.
Yeah.
Sanctuary.
I don't remember what that was. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Because you got this, Kinds of Kindness, Drive Away Dolls, Poor Things, Sanctuary. I mean, she's had a run, but
I agree. I like the Kinds of Kindness shout out too. This is what Kinds of Kindness should have been. Like there's also some like fisheye shots in this film, especially that involve Dennis Quaid, that made me think of Yorgos Lanthimos too. It's like this director is invoking all these other directors, but she has her own unique vision, which is just really cool.